Okay, so the next part of this project is the HTML component. And here we have an example of an input form or a form action. And basically what that is something that gathers the input and it allows us to take in this input as like a form, so hence the name form. And then to use form, we just have these tags right here. So the opening tag and the closing tag. And you notice that the opening tag has a few parameters. So let's go over those. So action right here indicates what we want to happen after you submit the form. So in this case, we want the greet function to run, and the greet function is defined in Python with the app root, which we'll get to a little bit later. And we also have an ID here. An ID just allows us to put a label on this form in case we want to refer to it in CSS or something else. So it's kind of like a unique identifier. And then the last thing we have here is method. And what method does is it specifies how we're going to send this form data over and like interact with the other parts of this program. So in this case, the method is equal to post. And that basically means that post, which is something that allows the form values to not be visible in this address tab right here of a new tab, is what is going to be used to send over whatever we put inside of this form, and it's going to be transmitted via a server. And so post is an alternative method to get, which we're not using here, but it is often used for a little bit less secure data. And it sends the data through a URL string, so you would be able to see it in this URL instead of what post does, which is not make it present right here. So we'll go into a little bit more detail about this later on in the year, but that's what you need to know right now. The next tag here is label, and that's what you imagine it is. It's just a label, and it just has this text here so you know what you're supposed to do. The next thing is this input here, and the name is equal to name, and the ID is also equal to name. So this is an input that takes in something, so it's the blank thing you see right here, and whatever you take in right here is going to be associated with the variable like name. So the final part of this program is the submission button. So it's an input where the type is equal to submit, and that designates it as like a submission type of thing. And the value is just what shows up on top. So you can see greetings is on this button. So that's how we would submit it. So that's all for the HTML component.